Hello and welcome to the Watch Kaki channel, where we bring you all the good and honest watch reviews. If you're new to my YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button and come back here more often because I have videos uploaded every week just for you. In today's video, we are not going to do a full-length watch review. Instead, we are going to go into a quick overview of this watch here on the review desk. This is the Tudor Black Bay Heritage Diver, and I have the burgundy version, or commonly known as the red version. The reference number is 79230R. I got this watch a few months ago in a trade, and I think now is a good time for me to share with you my thoughts on the Tudor Black Bay, especially with regards to what I like and what I dislike about this watch. So a bit of a background information on the Tudor Black Bay line. The first model 79220 was launched back in 2012, and that one featured really heavily modified ETA movement. This one here I'm holding on in my hand today, this one is the 79230, which features the new in-house movement that was launched in 2015. Some of the changes include the change of logo at the dial. This one's got a shield logo. The previous one had a rose logo, which most collectors are more interested in, and of course the main difference being the new in-house movement. This one houses the MT5602 automatic movement, hex and handwise, and it's got a 70-hour power reserve. Some other changes include the new riveted bracelet, which is more in line with the Black Bay's heritage or vintage feel to it. And of course, the newer in-house movement actually makes the watch a little bit thicker. In fact, a lot thicker. I think it's about 13 millimeters as opposed to this one that closes in at nearly 15 millimeters. So to many watch collectors these days, the Tudor Black Bay is widely recognized as the perfect companion or substitute to the classic Rolex Submariner. Now, there are many things that are similar to the Rolex Sub. Obviously, they come from the same parent company. Tudor belongs to Rolex, and it's got in-house movement, it's got a really good build, and this one retails for about half the price of a Rolex Sub. We're talking about Singapore dollars $5,184. That's the retail price of this watch, but of course you don't really pay the full retail. You get a bit of dealer discounts. The build is really good on this watch. You've got a really good mix of brush and polished surfaces. Pardon the protective films here. This is a pretty new watch, and these stickers have not been removed. Alright, it's got a really cool vintage vibe with the gilt dial, the color scheme with a vintage kind of loom to it, and also the absence of the crown guard really adds on to the vintage vibe. And I think this is really a good addition to anybody's diver watch collection. I would say this is going to be a classic in time to come. And again, it's just a solid looking piece with really nice aluminum crown tube that matches the bezel insert, right? It's really nice. It's got a red or burgundy tube matching with the bezel insert, and the bezel action is really solid. Just have a listen to the clicks. Right, the clicks just feel very solid and it's very satisfying. I mean, it's a 60 click bezel, but it really works and it sounds really superb. So let me just very quickly run through what I like about this watch. There are three things that I like very much about this watch. Number one is the movement. Now, the MT5602 is in-house movement and it is COSC certified. So I would say if you're a watch collector, it is always a pleasure to own a watch that has in-house movement. It really adds on a lot in terms of horology, and I think this is surely a plus point for the Tudor Black Bay. The next thing that I like about the Tudor Black Bay is the overall design of the watch. Now, I really love such watches, very simple. It's got a no date movement, which I feel is fantastic for this kind of vintage vibes going on, and really the use of a gilt dial along with no crown guards, and of course this lovely aluminum crown tube. I think the overall design is really spot on. It's fantastic. It really fits this vintage kind of diver, but of course it's built with really solid and modern specs. The addition of a riveted bracelet is also really a clever idea from Tudor. I think by adding on all this riveted look. Although these bracelets are not real, they're just there for aesthetic purposes, but I think it is a fantastic move by the brand to incorporate such a look into their bracelet. And lastly, the third reason why I like the Tudor Black Bay is because of this bracelet. It's very well constructed. It's got that fake riveted look, but hey, the construction is really top notch. It feels really solid. There's very little flex going on. The links are all solid, feel very good. And I need to show you this part here where they use ceramic ball bearings for the clasp. So instead of the usual D10 style of locking mechanism, Tudor has included the use of ceramic ball bearings, which really gives it a very good feel to it when you open or close the clasp. This is really fantastic. And the bracelet also has a really nice taper. It goes from 22mm at the lux, tapers down to 18mm nearer the clasp, and I think this really adds a touch of elegance to the watch. And now I'm going to share with you the two main reasons why I dislike the Tudor Black Bay. Now I'm going to start with a wrist shot, and the first reason why I dislike the Tudor Black Bay is the lack of adjustment options on the bracelet. Now don't get me wrong, the bracelet is really well built. It is a good quality bracelet, high quality bracelet, but the lack of adjustment is really very annoying for users or wearers with small wrists like me. Now let me just try and explain to you what I mean by the lack of adjustment on its bracelet. Now, normally I need to remove more links from the 6 o'clock side than the 12 o'clock side in order to center the clasp. So take a look here. Now, the watch face is more or less centered on my wrist, but if I were to turn around, do a wrist roll, you will notice that the clasp is really off center, it's way off center. Why? This is because I cannot remove any more links from the 6 o'clock side. I've already maxed out the number of links I can remove, and I find this really silly because there are so many links here, and yet I'm not allowed, or I cannot remove any of the links here. So even if I were to max out the removal of links from the 12 o'clock side, it's just going to worsen things. The clasp is just going to go even further from the center of my wrist. So if I were to have the clasp perfectly centered at the center of my wrist, when I do a wrist roll, you will see that the watch head is terribly out of place. It's crazy. So I'm going to show you another watch for comparison. Here you can see that the clasp is really nicely centered in the middle of my wrist, and when I turn around you will see that the watch is nicely positioned. And this is possible only because I could remove one more link from the 6 o'clock position. So I think I removed a total of 3 links here and 2 links over here, so I am able to get a really good fit on the bracelet. So it really baffles me as to why Tudor didn't think about the fact that there are watch collectors who need to remove more links at the 6 o'clock position. I mean, you've got a really nice riveted look kind of bracelet, but all you need to do was just to make one more link removable, and I think that will greatly improve the fit of the watch. Now on top of that, the lack of adjustment options really extend to the lack of micro adjustment options at the clasp itself. Take a look here, there are only 3 micro adjustments on the clasp, and there are no ratchets or diverse extension on this clasp. So you can only rely on these 3 micro adjustment dots, and I think they are not enough if you want to get a good fit on your bracelet. And the next thing that I dislike about the Tudor Black Bay, it is the fact that it's way too thick. It is just too thick at close to 15mm. I think with the addition of the slab side type of design here at the watch case, it really makes the watch very top heavy, and it tends to flop around quite a bit or slide around quite a bit. Alright, so you can see here from the wrist shot, as I turn my wrist, the watch really sits too tall, and there are no curves or anything like that to the case. Alright, hardly any curve to the case. It's more or less flat, so thereby it makes the watch really tall and it feels very top heavy. So this watch is not suitable for many straps, especially the thinner straps such as NATO or the thinner type of leather straps or rubber straps, because first of all, you've got a bit of a lug gap going on, and the next thing you know is the watch tends to sit really top heavy and it flops around just too much. Alright, here you can see that the watch tends to flop quite a bit. Right now, if I were to wear the watch very tight, if I were to remove one more link from the 12 o'clock side, I can wear it really tight, but it's very uncomfortable. But if I wear it just nice, not too tight and not too loose, you will notice that it tends to flop quite a bit due to the fact that it's really tall. So here's a very big disclaimer. Now, the dislikes that I mentioned on the Tudor Black Bay most likely applies to myself. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts on this watch, and these things are based on my preference as well as my wrist size. My wrist is about 6.8 inch and that's about 17 centimeters. So I will run into problems in getting a good fit for the bracelet. Now, if you have a bigger wrist than mine, 7.25, 7.5 inch, I think that shouldn't be any problem because plenty of links for you to play around with in terms of adjustments. But if you have a smaller wrist, under 7 inch, 6.5 or 6.25, I think you may run into problems when you're trying to get a good fit on the bracelet. Right, that said, the Tudor Black Bay is by no means a poor watch. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's a very well-made watch, really solid, and I think it really befits the retail price. I think it retails over 5,000 Singapore dollars, and you can get this for about 3,500 to 4,000 Singapore dollars in the used market. And I think this is a really good piece for collection in terms of diver watch, or even if you want to collect iconic classic watches. So there you have it. I shared with you my impressions on the Tudor Black Bay 79230R. This is the Black Bay Red or the Black Bay Burgundy. So I'm just sharing with you my thoughts on what I liked and what I disliked. Your mileage may vary, so please, if you want to share with me your views, please add to the comment section below. Now, I'm going to see you next week. Now, this is the Watch Kaki from Singapore, and this guy here, his name is George. We're going to say goodbye now. Bye-bye. And today we are going to talk about the Black Bay Burgundy Red that Ron Burgundy likes to wear. Hey George, why are you holding on to a flower?